If that's true, then what is time, really? Have you ever noticed how once we become adults, time seems to fly by at full speed? Yet when we were children, days seemed endless. Everything was brighter, more exciting, and more alive. This phenomenon is often explained by the effect of novelty. As children, almost everything is new. Every day brings new discoveries, new memories, and new experiences. As a result, time feels slower and richer. But as adults, we've seen it all before. We follow the same routines, visit the same places, and repeat the same habits. One day blends into the next, and before we know, another year has passed. Today I would like to share why time may be far less real than we think, and how each of us can, in a sense, slow it down or even stop it by doing a few surprising things. So, is time actually real? Well, according to a stopwatch and every measuring device we have, yes, absolutely. But according to psychology and how we experience it, not quite. I remember when I first moved to Kiev, everything felt so new and exciting. Every single day I was discovering new places, meeting new people, and honestly, it felt like life was full of color again. And then I've been living here for almost 3 years now, and something changed. That effect slowly disappeared. Now my days look pretty similar. Same routine, same people, same places. Weeks just fly by like this, and suddenly it's Friday again. And at some point I started to ask myself, how do I bring this feeling back? That sense that time is stretching, not disappearing. So how do we actually slow time down? And here is the interesting part, because it's not about doing something big or extraordinary. It's about breaking a repetition. Because when every day starts to look the same, your brain stops separating them. It merges them into one long continuous loop. But when you introduce something new, even something very small, you create a clear mark in time. You remember the day, you remember how it felt different, and suddenly it's no longer just another Tuesday. It becomes a real distinct moment in your life. That's why even the smallest changes matter. Taking a different road to work or university, getting on a different metro line or a bus, even if nothing else changes, going to the grocery store you've never been to before, trying a new gym or a completely different sport, or simply meeting new people. Because a short conversation is sometimes enough to stretch a moment in your memory. Because in those moments you are not adding more time to your life, you are adding more life to your time. And what's happening is simple. Your brain stops compressing days into one repetitive block. Instead, it creates more memories, more points of reference. And that's exactly what makes time feel longer when you look back at it. And here is even something deeper there. Because it's not only about changing what you do, it's about how present you are while you do it. Think about it. How many of our days do we actually live fully instead of just moving through them? We wake up, check our phones, solve tasks, go through routines and think what's next. And suddenly the day is gone. Not because time disappeared faster, but because we were never really inside it. And that's where everything starts to shift. Because when you become more present, even in the simplest moments, something changes in your perception. A walk feels longer, a conversation feels richer, even silence feels like something instead of nothing. And that's where you begin to notice. Maybe this is where time becomes truly interesting. Because if our experience of time changes, depending on how present we are, then maybe the mystery isn't time itself. The mystery is our attention. Why do some years disappear in a blur, while some moments stay with us forever? Why does a routine month feel shorter than a weekend full of adventure? Maybe the difference isn't in the amount of time we have. Maybe it's in how deeply we experience it. Because in the end, we cannot create more hours in a day. We cannot stop the clock. But we can choose to be more present. We can choose novelty over repetition. We can choose experiences over autopilot. And perhaps that's the closest any of us will ever come to stopping time. Not by adding more time to our life, but by adding more life to our time.